Welcome back, everyone. All right, it is less than a week to the big spooky night. I gathered up some art styles that I thought go really well with Halloween, and you could use them in social media, decorating around the house, frame them, put them up. Very cool styles, very graphical. You could also use them for invitations if you have last minute party stuff. Social media, get it out there. Anyway, yeah, I love Halloween. You guys know this. I'm going to stop yapping and let's get into this. All right. So our first art style that we're going to look at is called charcoal smudging. And this is, your typical charcoal drawing, but, smudging using your fingers or using what's called a stump. It's a piece of paper that's wrapped up really tight with kind of a point, and basically once you apply charcoal to the paper or your medium, then you can move it around with either your finger. We used to use the stumps. We used to use toilet paper. Basically anything that's a little soft and can move things around. And you can get these really beautiful gradients and almost smoky, atmospheric type effects with charcoal smudging. So here is a witch in charcoal smudging, and that's pretty cool. I went with this and I thought it was kind of Halloween-y because it has so much atmosphere, and it can also be very expressive. Where's my clicker? Way up there. All right. A zombie. Look at that guy. It's really cool how his face is very detailed and crisp and contrasty, and then you get this vignette of softening details and more expressive-ness, and that all comes from the smudging effect. This journey also kind of almost looks like it gives a wet look, like almost a watercolor or inking to it also. Not something you would get from I wonder if you applied water with a spray or something after you had done your charcoal drawing, if you could get effects like this. Interesting. I bet you could. A still life of a feast, and very cool, very, very expressive, but also high contrast in these areas, like the light to the darks, at full range. I am, with this technique, seeing a little bit of that repetitive patterning that we're seeing in Midjourney, but very cool. I think you also have these construction lines in there. I think that looks really awesome. But yeah, I love charcoal drawing. I think it is very beautiful, and especially when it's done right. You can get such great. You can really give the feel of three-dimensionality, and as long as you're using your whole spectrum of blacks to whites, contrast. Haunted woods. Very cool. There we go. There's our beautiful atmospherics. Very cool. Could use this as, print that, frame it, put it on your wall, and there's your Halloween decoration. I really like this light too. There is a crisper light that's shooting across, and you get that in fog, because fog doesn't always have to be this solid mass. Sometimes it comes through like clouds, and there's more opaque and more thinner layers, so you can find these really crisp lighting within the fog, and very, very cool. Headless horseman. It's got a head, but very cool, very expressive. You can it's almost that texture, that Midjourney texture, almost gives you a feel of a rough paper or a canvas type of look. But man, that is beautiful. I like it. A tree. Now this is really smudged, and it's creepy. The details are, especially up in the foliage, are just really just worked out. They're not crisp. It gives you that feel. Is it smoke? Is it foliage? Is it clouds in the back? Everything just seems kind of burnt out with this landscape. You can see down here, you're getting this softening between land and background. Definitely something you could see within a charcoal drawing. Kraken. There's the Kraken. That's just awesome. There's so many tentacles and, great shading, great, just looks evil, drippy, and just a million tentacles and, something that's going to take down a ship, right? Or at least a rowboat, maybe a canoe, inflatable. I don't know. And then the Haunted Mansion. That's very cool. I mean, almost like smudged in a cross-hatching technique because you can see these angles throughout it, but it's still smudged. It's still, softened up. It's still expressive, but it's done in like this very angular way. And it works well with the architecture and the crisp lines of the architecture and great lighting. I mean, this is so cool how this wall is lit up here vibrantly, but as you move down, like that whole wall isn't the same level of lighting. Like there's a fall off. So here's your center, and then you move down here, and it's it gradates to a darker. Same here is like you get this sharp light up here, and it falls off, and that's how lighting works. It's not consistent across surfaces. That's what makes really good artists, is knowing that. And photography too, same thing. Is you have your, God, it always slips my mind. The what is it? It's the inverse. What is it? Inverse light. Shoot, the law of, what is it? Oh, come on, inverse square law. That's what it is. All right, I knew it. I didn't look it up. Inverse square law, and that's you use that with portraits. And come on, where's my record? You use that with portraits, and it's very cool because you can have a nice sharp light up here. And then as it goes down the portrait, it's a different, like it diminishes because it's further away from the light source. And, I feel amateur photographers, amateur portrait will try to light that evenly. So everything along this side has the same exact light, and then everything on this side. But when you start thinking about photography and lighting portraits, I find it much more interesting if there's a gradation in each of the lights, and you can see that, and you can accomplish it with knowing how to power your lights, and how close they are and how big they are. Very interesting stuff. All right, so that is charcoal smudging. Very cool, very rough, very Halloween-y. All right, our next art style is called Sgraffito, and what this comes from a pottery term. I guess it could be a painting term too, or an art style. I don't know if painting is the right term for it, but basically on pottery you can lay down a layer of glaze and then come away and basically scratch out the negative or the design you want, leaving holes in the glaze that you left and creating a design. So typically this is a negative workflow because you're taking away from it, and it's also usually two colors. So let's take a look at it. Where is my clicker? Jesus. 3 monitors. My mouse gets lost. You guys know this. All right, here's a witch. Looks like a witch with a very small, not a broom, but one of those feather dusters and a coffee. So she's a modern witch. She knows how to get through. I bet it's pumpkin spice. I bet it is. All right. Very cool. And I thought this was neat because it adheres to kind of a type of design. Designers really like this aesthetic of almost a juvenile type of look, and two tones and a flat look, I would say. Here's our zombie, a little bit more detailed. We're looking at 3 colors now, but that's okay. That's Midjourney's take on it. And, you could always fix that if it bothered you and you wanted to stay true to the style. Technically, I guess you could do this if you were doing a painting and you kind of knew where your coloring was going to be, and then like you laid a flat black plaster over it and then scratched it away, but you knew where the colors transitioned, you'd be able to get kind of an effect like that. Same with this one. Very cool. This almost looks like a printmaking to me, but I I think Midjourney definitely has gotten the style, and the detailing of the tools, how detailed and how precise you can get with it. Haunted forest. All right, very cool. Very, you can imagine this, wrapped around a bowl or something, and very artistic, very detailed, very beautiful. Is that a flying saucer in there? I think there's a flying saucer in there. Oh, there's a couple of them. What's going on here? I don't think they're flying saucers. They're something with big eyes. Very Guillermo del Toro, big eyes. We all know what I'm talking about, right? It's Headless Horseman, very cool. Great representation of, colonial era type artwork. Flat, but well proportioned, I'd say. And I love the line work on the landscape. Very cool, and gives a feel for the flow of it and everything. Very New Englandy. I like the orange on black. There's Halloween again, and we got a nice palette there. A tree. Yeah, that's, it's a very precise drawing of a representation of a tree, but, you can see how, again, this is a negative extraction of the artwork. Very cool. Never know how you could use a design like that. I know I'm focusing on Halloween right now, but, that could be, you could put that, it doesn't have to be a logo, but it could be letterhead, something along those lines. Just give a flourish. That's what it is. It's a flourish. And the Kraken, very cool. There's our two tones. It's staying correct to that. It's getting a little too gradated for the technique, but I think you guys can mess around with this and create some cool artwork. The Haunted Mansion, again, I love that, you have these lines that are in surface lines that are in perspective and really adhering to giving shape to this illustration of a haunted mansion. I'm looking at these trees and I love spiky curved representations of trees. I think it's, it makes us cringe. It's like a sawtooth. It just gives a dangerous texture and feel to it. And if you look in, you get these repetitive curves that go along with it and really give more feeling and more texture, more vibrance to this, otherwise black and white image. I don't know about these windows right here. I feel like you should have a grander window and maybe not. I mean, this gives you a creepy feeling because it's like two eyes looking at you, but yeah, very cool. That's it. All right, let's get to the next one. All right, I know you guys are going to have fun with this next one. It is Monotype printmaking. And the technique for Monotype is basically you take this big, it's got to be a surface. It can be metal. Most monotypers use clear plexiglass now. And you lay down your ink with a roller and make it very flat, like a big black square. And the trick to it is you need to use an ink that doesn't dry up. It needs to stay wet while you're working on it. And once you have your kind of square, your black, now you're going to go in with different tools, brushes, tools. Some people use spoons, knives, wooden tools, and you start taking away the paint. You start creating the highlight areas. You're extracting the paint and basically creating, again, it's a negative art style. So you're taking away, you're reducing it, and you're pulling your highlights off. Once you do that, then you very carefully place a piece of paper on top of your plexiglass, and you don't make sure it doesn't move because that'll ruin it. And then you take a roller and you go across the back, and what it does is it transfers that image that's on the very smooth surface to the very porous paper. And so typically these are, most people do them in a one single color. I keep saying black. It doesn't have to be black. It can be any ink you want. The only thing is like the alignment of it for putting a second color down would be, I don't know how you would do that to do it accurately. I'm not a professional printmaker, though. I haven't done printmaking in a very long time, but let's take a look at it. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this and go to town. Again, it's a very graphical, flat art style, and it's kind of what I'm exploring. And, you know, I like these primitive art styles, especially for Halloween, because they are primitive, and, you know, it's that kind of, that feel can really give to the spookiness of it. So here's our witch and our zombie. You know, you can get very detailed and intricate in removing the paint. When I see this large, this almost looks photorealistic in how it's gradated, but I definitely see, you know, the possibilities. Somebody with a steady hand could create an image like this in Monotype. You're still like, again, so since you're brushing it away and using these more detail-oriented tools, you can get these nice gradations from dark to white, but you'll be looking at it in negative as you're working on it, well, I guess you won't be looking at it in negative. You'll be working in negative. But here's our feast and our haunted woods. You know, something like this, like the ground, like these etching type things, they're probably taking like a very pointed wooden tool and just scraping away at it to create this texture. And then you'll have like this wooden, can't remember the name of it. It'll be like a piece of wood, and it has two legs, and you rest your hand on it so it doesn't touch the inked area, and you can work the way without leaning into the ink and without holding your hand above it, because that would be exhausting. But etch away as you move down, and I can't remember. It's like a hand rest type thing. It's also steadies your hand, so you could do this more intricate work. Headless Horseman. He's got a head again. I'm just not going to get a Headless Horseman. And, you know, a technique like this where you have multicolors on the back, you know, the paper that you apply it to get that, you know, would have already had like an orange and you know, yellow wash on it. It would have some texture and color to it, and then you do this black and white or monotone print on top of it to get this very cool look. But definitely interesting, graphical, beautiful, really. I mean, that's a really cool, I really like that image. Needs more fingers. It's only got 3 fingers. Although, though, the Headless Horseman, it was a Hessian. Was he a demon? No. I think only when he came back. So he shouldn't have his head. He's going to have three fingers. He shouldn't have a head. Yeah. This is beautiful. I love this. It's, you know, just a stunning lone tree. Could technically be, you know, accomplished with Monotype, and you know, there is some very detailed Monotype work, and I shouldn't make it sound like that's not achievable. I just look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, the craftsmanship to accomplish that is phenomenal. And again, with this bit of texture in the back, like, that gives it more depth, that would be, you know, created, your paper would have gotten some type of ink wash prior to it before you applied the Monotype print. And there we go. Here's our octopus, but it's supposed to be Kraken. I think Kraken's a little octopusy. I'm talking about the James Bond thing. Anyway, cool. I think I've seen this Kraken style before with Midjourney. It's a similar look, but very, very neat, very graphical, very, very grungy, gritty. And a house. That's cool. I mean, I know this was made with AI, but I just think of like, I imagine the person like etching it out, or not etching, but painting it out. I'm so painstaking to get a perfect print like this, and you know, it's beautiful. And even though I know it's not created that way, I'm imagining the person that would create it that way. And you know, that's kind of the magic of AI, I guess. And I really hope that these techniques and crafts and trades do continue on. Wow, that tree looks really cool too. It's just a lot of cool texture in there. But again, it's spooky and kooky and, you know, a little bit Halloween-y. That's it. All right, On to the next. All right, our next one is Intaglio. And this is a printmaking. Again, I'm on this printmaking stuff. I think printmaking really, just look into it, research it. It's really fascinating how this stuff is done, and the craft of printmaking is phenomenal. And I know we can create this imagery with AI so quickly now, but I would definitely look into how this stuff is actually made. So Intaglio is, you have a piece of metal, and then you carve out, you carve into that metal your print design, and where that metal has etching, where you've etched it out, is where the ink sits. So you're actually creating a positive this time. It's not a negative. So you're creating a positive. And the other cool thing with Intaglio is when you see it in person, you have the metal with your carving out of the metal, and then you wipe the flat surface clean of ink, or as clean as you would like it. You may want a gray tone or something. And then you place that down, you place a piece of paper down, and it goes through a press. So it's a big wheel that presses down on it. And the interesting thing about that is it gives a embossment to the paper. And that's how you know it's been an Intaglio print. So let's take a look at these. And you can get very detailed, very realistic stuff with this. And you can also do multiple passes. So you can, you could color or detailing. You could do all sorts of things. You can imagine. Go research it. Here's our witch. Very cool. Very, this what you would think coming off of a printing press. Very cool. Very occult. Our zombie. Yes. That's the kind of stuff that you could see with an Intaglio print. I think there's also, like, once you etch out the metal, I think there's a hardening process too, and I can't remember. It's like dipped in acid or something so that it hardens the surface of the print. And this may, if you start looking up Intaglio, you're going to see, I love this arm in the back. You're going to see dollar bills, U.S. currency. And, we're always familiar in the movies where there's the counterfeiter and they steal from the U.S. government and the mint. They steal the print blocks. And I think they're always making it seem like it's Intaglio. But this is a cool print. I think I'm going to print this guy for Halloween. He is pretty awesome. I'm going to do some printing tomorrow. Not like that, not printmaking. I'm going to do off a printer. And here's a feast. Very cool. Very still life. You can see the beautiful gradations that you can get. And I think that's the depth of how deep you're cutting and how much ink it's holding on the plate. You would need to talk to a master to really get it. But, I'm kind of throwing out, hey, this is a cool Midjourney. It does a solid reproducing this. Another cool, look at how gradated. Interesting thing is there's like car lights coming down this, but very neat imagery. It also gives you I keep getting these monotone images, but with Intaglio, you can have full spectrum of gradation. So you can get these more atmospheric looks and stuff. You'd have to ask a master. Our headless horseman, he's got a head. I did not get a headless horseman. I just got a head. Headed horseman. Very cool though. Cool imagery. Looks dated, looks colonial and Victorian. Colonial. Absolutely looks colonial. And, printing presses were a big deal. So the craft of that is coming through. My horse got too many legs. It's like a centipede horse. That's creepy. There's something to put in your prompt. Centipede horse. All right, a tree. Yep. Very detailed. Midjourney's kind of giving it a little bit of a bleed. I guess you could do that on a textured, inked, washed medium. But I love that it put these bird iconography in there. They're very rough. and that would be the deepest cuts where it would hold the most amount of ink because it's getting very dark coloring there. But very cool. That is like the best. I mean, that's a Kraken, but that is like the best I have seen in a long time. That is getting printed for my Halloween decorations. I love that. There's so much energy. There's emotion. There's the brows are tilted. It's in the rain. But let me know on Discord if you guys want to see like the full res. Oh, 4x upscale this thing. Yeah. Oh, it's going to look awesome. But check that out. That is the best imagery, I think. Wonder if that should be my thumbnail. I don't know. I had a different thumbnail, but this might be it. All right. Take a look at that. Take it in. That's the Kraken in Intaglio printmaking and the haunted house. Very cool. This is a little bit more tamed, not as detailed, but absolutely has the look that we would like. Interesting that there's these treat houses, giving them the feel of like kind of a lookout, like, hey, maybe we don't want people approaching our house. Don't know what kind of freaky stuff goes on in there, but very cool. All right. That's Intaglio printing. Check it out and do some research on all these styles. Don't just use them on your prompts because you'll find this stuff is so interesting and it's great to use AI to kind of explore these looks. And then, maybe you'll find a new passion, a new hobby. And you'll be the next great Intaglio printer. All right. Hey, thanks for joining me this week. I hope you guys have an amazing Halloween. If you guys are using any of these techniques or stuff for prints and decorations around your house for the big spooky night, if you're taking quick cell phone photos, post them up on Discord. I'd love to see how the decorations are coming. This is a great time of year to be creative and get out there. Like this video if you can. Comment below. Let's talk about this stuff. Tell me what your favorite is. Subscribe to the channel. I need that. I love it. All right. Until next week. Next week, I'm starting to work on a different kind of video. And should be interesting. It should get your attention. Anyway, yeah. All right. Have a happy Halloween.